A big part of an architect's job is making decisions and then documenting them. Architecture decision records are perfect for this. Easy to create, easy to change. Michael Nygard came up with ADRs back in 2011, and they're deliberately very simple, portable and versionable as markdown files. And of course, then Mark Richards and Neal Ford made them better by adding a few extra fields. You definitely want to check out their book, Fundamentals of Software Architecture. Read chapter 19. Now, I won't get into all the details, but just know that ADRs are really good at helping you get unstuck from all that analysis paralysis. And they do that by helping you document decisions in a way that's testable, traceable, findable. What's more, these days, you can get your AI agents to pull them in as part of its context while they help you churn out all that code. That said, for this video, I want to show you how tools like GitHub Copilot can actually help you create ADRs right there in the IDE. And that helps you keep your flow while popping back and forth between coding and making architecture decisions. Let me show you. Here, I got a repo for a custom e-commerce site that I'm building. Notice we got folders for the source code and for the documentation. And if we pop into the docs folder, you'll see that I got a place for my ADRs. Now what's cool about this is that you get a nice chronological stack of all the decisions I've taken. And it's really easy to see what those decisions are just by glancing at the file names. Because we're using Markdown, if we take a look, it's formatted really nice, consistent. Title, status, you got a context section explaining why we need to take a decision in the first place. What's the problem we're trying to solve? Then there's the decision itself, short and direct, get to the point. Now this rationale section, it's real important. Those are the promises made with this decision you've taken. And because it's architecture, there's a good chance each justification is going to line up with a testable architecture quality attribute, or ILITY. And we want to take decisions that support a system's most important qualities. Now, as Neal Ford likes to say, there's no right or wrong answers in architecture, only trade-offs. Trade-offs are those acceptable risks that we assume with each one of our decisions. So yeah, we need to call those out. That's what the consequences section is for. Now, my preference is, since risks tend to also line up with testable architecture qualities, prefix each one of them with the ILITIs, if you can. What's more, if the trade-offs are significant enough, it's probably a good idea to make a note about the mitigation. Make it testable. If it's high stakes enough, well, those should probably get their own ADRs too. Okay, further down, the compliance section is probably the most important part of the document, second to the decision itself. This is what empowers you to make quick decisions, to fail fast, and to iterate. This is what makes architecture compatible with Agile. It takes far less time to take a decision, implement it, test it, fail and learn, than it does to spend months on analysis with big design up front, guessing about hidden externalities. And funny enough, this section is also the hardest to write. Testing architecture qualities with fitness functions can feel fuzzy and non-deterministic, qualitative. Neal Ford and his friends wrote a whole other book on this one too. Finally, we got the notes section. Now, this is the bone pile, the everything else section. It's super tempting for developers and architects to pile up all their favorite technical details up front and at the top. To them, that's the gooey goodness, all the pretty diagrams. But it's much better to save the gory details for the bottom of the page, or better, as external links. Noise gets in the way of communication. ADRs are purposely organized like an upside-down triangle, most important parts at the top, kind of like a newspaper article. You can reference the requirements, technical details, diagrams, and tactical minutiae here. Okay, so for this demo, I gave myself a task. I want to document my decision to build my web applications client using vanilla HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Now let me stop you right there. You might not agree with this decision, and that's okay. An ADR is not the discussion. You might have heard this thing people say, disagree and commit. The conversation should happen before the ADR is created. If it's a high-stakes decision, you might want to create a separate RFC for your comparative analysis, or better, pull the stakeholders and developers into a room and hash it out on a whiteboard. But at some point, a decision gets made. This is that decision. And remember, this isn't the end of the story. You can keep a note of alternatives considered at the bottom of the document, in the notes section, just in case the tests and fitness functions fail. Alright, let's do it. Here I've got my workspace open. This folder structure should look familiar. There's the docs, the ADRs. We can pop open that first one and see that it was authored as Markdown, easy to get to for people and agents. Now from there, I'm going to open GitHub Copilot's chat window. I'll save you the pain of watching me type. I'll paste in the prompt. You'll notice it's super wordy, and I tell it that I want help creating an ADR, what the decision is and why I'm making it, why I think it's a good idea for me to use vanilla, and how agent-assisted development has kind of made using bloated JavaScript frameworks a moot point, especially since they all transpile down to vanilla anyway, and I want to test that out. Of course, I know it's got trade-offs, so I spell all of that out too. Onboarding, reusability, infrastructure, and tooling, and I give it some rough ideas about how I'd go about testing this hypothesis. Since I want Copilot to actually create the ADR and affect change in my workspace, I make sure I got agent mode selected. Gonna burn some premium request units, and away we go. Now while it's churning, I'm going to point out that I kind of expect it to do a much better job at this than I would have. And that's because there's a lot of supporting detail all over the workspace. Existing source code, README file, and some custom instruction files that I'll show you in a minute. And there we go, just like that, we got a new ADR, 003. We can pop it open and see that it's formatted just like the others using Markdown. And it seems to know exactly how I want my ADRs to be formatted. Now, how is that? Well, here's the secret. If we take a peek at our repository and navigate down into those hidden GitHub files, you can see we've got this instructions folder. This is where Copilot goes to get guidance on how to actually work in the workspace. Like here, I've got some custom instructions on how to write code in the client folder, but I also got this instructions file for ADRs. And this is really cool. As you can see here, these files are also written in Markdown. This is a breakdown of all the stuff I told you about ADRs earlier, stuff I learned from that Fundamentals of Software Architecture book and specifics I've picked up through experience. I got naming convention, file structure, and then a breakdown of everything I want in each section. Below that is a template. Now this is just like one-shot prompting. Actually, it's multi-shot if you count the other ADRs we've already created. So yeah, if we go back into the IDE, you can see the instruction files there, part of the workspace. Easy to tweak, easy to read, and I'm sure it won't surprise you to know I used Copilot to help me create this file too. Alright, and from there, don't forget to check in the ADR. It's part of the repo, versioned and accessible. I'll go ahead and get that merged as a pull request. And now, everybody's got it. Easy to find. Of course, just like with generated code, as the architect, you're still accountable, so you better read it carefully and make sure to fix anything that looks off. Now you might think, if this is so easy, why bother? Well, at the end of the day, ADRs are communication, not just for developers and stakeholders, but also for the agent helping you generate code. As you build up the workspace with helpful content, you start to get more predictable results. You might notice that this takes us one step closer to specification-driven development. But for now, I still prefer to stay in the loop. Alright, my name's Steve and you can find me on YouTube or LinkedIn. Thanks for watching.